I am Amira. The topic that we got is terrorism. Okay, what is terrorism? Terrorism is the use of violence against random civilian targets in order to intimidate or to create generalized pervasive fear for the purpose of achieving political goal. Okay, so we will move on with the impact of terrorism in international relation, which is the first one is economic and the second one is the tourism. Okay, so in economic, the terrorism has made an untold physical loss in the household spending and also well-being, while in tourism, the terrorism has made the tourists to cancel their booking on the hotel. This is because they are afraid of the terrorist attack. This will also make a great loss to the country.
Okay, hi, my name is Siti Numashita binti Fadisham. Today, I would like to answer question number 2, which is the role of United Nations to solve the global problem about terrorism. Terrorism continues to pose a serious threat to international peace and security, undermine the core value of the United Nations. Addressing this threat is the way more difficult given the complex and constantly evolving nature of terrorism activities. Terrorism act often defy national border. One act of terrorism can involve activity and actors from numerous countries. Given this complex, strong cooperation within national government and between states and organizations, at the regional and international level, it is important to effectively combat terrorism, to share best practice and lessons learned, and to help with the investigation and prosecution of terrorism cases. According to Ms. Steele, terrorism could be a plague from which no continent or country is immune. For handling this global threat to peace and security, international cooperation is crucial. The World Organization is uniquely placed to help member states to effectively prevent terrorism within their borders and across regions. The multi-phase approach proposed by the global organization also often means two countries to handle various but interconnected issues simultaneously. Terrorism could be a global issue to be able to tackle globally to bring a long-lasting peace within the world democracy. Above all, what needs is a strong international organization to tackle the problem before it. Under the Charter of the United Nations, the Security Council has primary responsibility for the upkeep of international peace and security, including measures to handle terrorism as a threat to international peace and security. The Security Council has undertaken a variety of counter-terrorism actions. The United Nations is combating terrorism is to encourage 11 regional and sub-regional organizations to form on strengthened counter-terrorism mechanism or centers. Government coordinate their counter through the international organization. In 2006, they adopted at the UN the first ever global strategy to counter terrorism. UN agency and program have helped countries to place in practice the worldwide strategy, providing legal assistance and promoting international cooperation against terrorism. So, in conclusion, the above are a few ways within which the United Nations is contributing to global counter-terrorism effort. The initiative taken by various organs of the United Nations to support the victims of terrorism become a positive move to encourage the states members to make law and assistance schemes for the victims of terrorism acts. There's various resolutions. The United Nations has urged the states members to implement the necessary mechanism to support the victim of the terrorist act. Okay, now we will move to the next question, which is what are the role of NGO to cater the problem of terrorism? Acronym NGO stand for non-governmental organization, with only slightly more specifically, an NGO is any organization, usually non-profit, that operates independently of a government. Contrary to common usage, the NGO title doesn't necessarily imply the organization work abroad. NGO is local, national, or international. They pursue an issue of interest to its members by lobbying, persuasions, and or sense within the area of international economics. NGOs play an increasing role defining human rights and therefore for the environment and fighting poverty. International non-governmental organizations provide advice and educate institutions on how they will prevent terrorism. The expertise and policy that international non-governmental organizations give the institution cannot be provided by the government. In certain instances, individuals may find it difficult to combat terrorism because of lack of property language that they will use to deal with the matters. Furthermore, international non-governmental organizations play very crucial community functions which are associated with combating terrorism. They push for the event of strong group within the community where people can share ideas and opinions on how they will effectively handle terrorism threat. According to Hans, NGOs play an important role in creating strong society who will result to unravel their difference purposeful by not through act of terrorism. Moreover, one counter-terrorism role that has for an extended time been performed better by international non-governmental organizations is engaging in dialogue with groups or individuals who are believed to perpetrate acts of terrorism. According to Diana Madakla, when international non-governmental organizations push for implementation of security initiatives to curb terrorism, their efforts are rarely thwarted by political sensitivities which are quite common when such implementations are supported by national government. This is evidence that international non-governmental organizations play very crucial roles in combating terrorism. These roles are extremely effective in reducing terrorism-related violence in numerous communities. International non-governmental organizations should be able to overcome a variety of challenges that they will likely to face within the fields as they perform their roles of combating terrorism so as to realize the positive benefits from international non-governmental organizations. Government will terrorist reductions. Government should not politicize the role of those institutes to avoid interfering with intelligence gathering process.
So hi, my name is Muhammad Hafiz bin Izzah, and I will continue for question 4, which is my personal view about global in a term of terrorism. For my personal view in a global of term of terrorism, based on my view, which is that I can want to highlight, which is in the terrorism sector, is something that we need to be taken seriously. This is because it is important to identify some possible effect, violation and trauma that arise on the victim himself. Such a factor do not always stand out as they should in the end. The main objective of the anti-terrorism effort is based on the rules to prevent casualty in the context of fighting terrorism. Meantime, what is the mean by this is also not entering from the experience of people who survive the act or saw the violence, especially from a global point of view. It's describe the various perception that may be experienced by survivors in a number of a factor, including surviving age and also a gender, along with any political, religious or culture belief that hold go through different traumatic response between individuals and may be influenced by Becker 1934. Thus, we can see some of the effect that are affected by terrorism through a global sector. Among the major of the effect in the world, trauma from is a global sector, physical consequence and from action. Also, violence related to violence can include fracture, soft tissue, injuries, disability, long-term chronic pain, and sensory disorder. In the meantime, several studies conducted on the effect of a terrorist attack on the victim have shown the effect that act of terrorist violence often result in a large of a number of victims being significantly affected. Example, they tend to be a higher level on the impact scale. For additional information, PTSD is a physical disorder that may occur in a people who have experienced or witnessed traumatic events such as a natural disaster, serious accident, act of terrorism or war, fighting or rape-threatening, death, sexual violence, or in a serious injury. So as a conclusion, in the effect of the individual approach, no matter where you are come from, terrorists actually have a profound effect on the attacks carried out and also affect globally all over in the world. Next, in the term of social trauma, where terrorist violence has taken place around the world, it will certainly have an impact in various angles, especially in the economy of the local community because of the violence that is taking place. In addition to the psychology effect of violence associated with a violence experienced at the level of the affected individual or community may experience collective trauma that primarily occur where attack targeted at a specific group or communities. Meanwhile, what can be seen and can be said, violence is often and can happen as well as any community, and also insurgency should be done by them to eradicate terrorist violence that has a higher and a profound impact of them. Then in the border of impact of human rights on the victim, whether directly or indirectly, is likely to have a social impact which is involve changing the victim lifestyle, usually to avoid the situation of a or in context which is often occur. As a conclusion for this question, we know that violence perpetrated by terrorists is based on the threats and made to intimidate and conquer, especially for political purpose. At the same time, what can I say based on the situation in the term of fear and surrender causes by violence is also a definition of a place that has the impact on the global as well, because from various angle that effect is a very deeper idea from the point of view based on individual, society or country in the world. For the conclusion of this topic, what can I conclude is this terrorism is manipulated in a fear systemical, especially such as covert means. In the meantime, there will be no definition of terrorism approved by the universal people. What can we see is the most of the major terrorism includes at that intent to causes of fear and then in order to achieve ideology goals rather than attack alone and deliberately target or neglect to the safety of the public. Any important role in defending our community from terrorists globally.